Mm, mm. I love a good cup of water. Hola, ¿cómo estás? It's me again, Rockson, and here back again at Use Your Difference, the place to be if you want to take your culture awareness to the next level. So last week we talked about the power distance index. This week we're talking about collectivism versus individualism. If you remember correctly, last week I was telling you how I was a walking contradiction and you had to listen to this. Well, here's how. I come from a collectivist background, and in collectivist societies, people tend to define success and everything in terms of group dynamics. So you hear things like, I'm a good son, we did this, we do that, it's all we. And that, it's just often in cultures like in Asian cultures, a lot of Asian cultures, a lot of African cultures, and a lot of Latin American cultures. Contrast that with an individualistic society like the US and a lot of Western European countries, you find that the achievement is given more significance. So you were the first guy to do this. You got this as the richest person, and success is defined as something in terms of your rights and how you approach something. So I became this contradiction in the sense that my background there was always a lot of emphasis on being the one that respected the family name. You couldn't be the Rockson that didn't do something well. So everything that I did was monitored in the sense that I couldn't do things to shame the family. But as I started to get older, I started to really, find myself, and in the process of moving and going to all these countries, I got influenced. I was in an American international school. I started to do some individual things. I started to value achievement. I started to want to be the best at anything that I did. So it's always funny for me when I go back home. I always have that mental cultural shift in my head. All right, I've got to remember, this is not about me. This is about what we're doing here as a family. Go home, go say that, and this is the Rockson. So, that's in essence how that contradiction comes into play. But as the world becomes more global and we become more globalized, how do you find, or how do you deal rather, with people that have different cultural frames of reference from you? Say you are someone from a collectivist background, how would you deal with someone from an individualistic background? If you're someone from a collective background and you're teaching a bunch of individualists, then you can start to create a situation where the first person to answer this question, or the person that gets the answer to the hardest question, gets a certain amount of extra credit. If you were a teacher that was working with a bunch of collectivists, then you have to make it a situation where they come up with that group dynamic. So you set them up in groups, you ask them questions like, what did the group think of this? Why did the group respond to that answer? And that makes them more comfortable. This is often something that people in groups, especially as I've been in university here, it's always funny when I'm paired with people from different backgrounds and I see how they respond to group assignments, because some people dread it because they feel like the loudest voice is gonna take credit for everything, and people, and sometimes that tends to look like the quiet person didn't do anything. So make that person in the collectivist environment feel like they were part of the bigger picture, and that's how you can get success. This is how you can negotiate with business. This is how you can interact with fellows and ladies from different backgrounds. Say you're in a business setting, you're in a meeting, and you're leading a bunch of collectivists. One thing that you can do is make sure you have clear instructions ahead of time. So if you're gonna call out people, you're gonna ask out names and say, hey, I would like Tony or like Lily to say something. Make sure it's been stated beforehand that you're going to actually call them out. So it's not something that you'd say, who has an opinion on this, and no one responds, because that way they know what to expect, and it doesn't look like they're outshining someone else, or they're stepping up and going outside of some of their comfort zone, really. So make sure you're very clear with the instructions. Make sure you let them know what the clear path of the meeting is going to be and what to expect. That way they feel comfortable, and they can go at that meeting feeling like the group achieves something as a dynamic as a goal. With individualists, it's, this is very, very common in the Western culture. A lot of people that are not familiar with the Western culture sometimes, you've got things like sales quotas. In a sales environment, that's a subculture within any environment that encourages achievement, encourages rewards for getting that achievement, and also has people being recognized as, hey, Tony, once again as an example, was the highest selling salesperson this month. And last month it was Lily. That's a dynamic that's done. What happens though if you're in a sales environment and you're still in a collectivist culture? One thing that you can do is have sales teams, and that way a sales team wins versus a salesperson wins. So they're very, very subtle tricks that you can use between these environments. But one thing that I want to make clear is that there is not one society that's better than another. Japan, has a less individualistic mindset than America, but that doesn't mean they haven't achieved a lot of success. And it doesn't matter. Same thing goes back and forth for several countries. Whether it's the northern, whether it's Scandinavian countries, or whether it's Brazil, or whether it's Nigeria or South Africa, they've all achieved success within that. Within whatever function that they believe in. The one thing that you should take is learn how to communicate across this culture, as opposed to say your culture is better than that. Learn how to embrace, learn how to flex a certain muscle, and then invite that, as opposed to saying, I can't believe that you didn't recognize this person, or why do we have to wait for this whole group to work together? Okay? So, are you an individualist? Are you a collectivist? I'd like to know. And if you are, a mix of both, please let me know as well, because I often have to flex both muscles, and I'm always curious to meet fellow people who've had to do that all their lives. So let me know in the comments below, or on my website, or any of the links that will be down below in the description box. Are you an individualist, or are you a collectivist? Till next week, use your difference to make a difference.